Vice Minister Ni Hong, Vice Minister Zhang Xiaohong, Chief of the Office Li Xiaolong from the same ministry. Now, the floor is yours, Minister Wang. Ladies and gentlemen, friends of the media, good morning. First of all, on behalf of my ministry, I'd like to express my heartfelt thanks to the friends who have long-term supported and attached great importance to the development of housing and urban rural development. Last year, under the strong leadership of the CPC Central Committee with Comrade Xi Jinping at its core, we have worked diligently to apply the instructions and directions given by the top regulators. Considering that we have entered a new stage of development, we have to build up a new architecture for economic growth. We have to bring into full play the important role of the housing in restructuring the economy and also re-regulating the relationship between demand and supply. It has contributed to the successful opening of the 14th five-year plan period. First of all, we have assisted the containment of COVID-19 and developed the sector of housing. Civic, environmental protection, as well as the other sectors have witnessed the hard work of all the employees. They have contributed to the smooth development of the cities and the happy life of the people. We have also organized activities to fight against the COVID-19 in parks, communities, and also construction sites. We have the regular base of measures to fight against the COVID-19. We have actually built up the barriers against the pandemic. For the small and micro enterprises, as well as the individual business owners, we have issued preferential policies to lower the rent for them and also to lower the proportion of their personal share of contribution to the public reserve pooling of the housing. All the measures are to help the individual business owners and the small and micro enterprises to survive this crisis. And we have also reiterated the idea that houses are for living in, not for speculation. We have built up this accountability system at provincial level. The government should be an important monitoring factor, and we also have to stabilize the society by guaranteeing the basic living conditions for people. We respect the rule of law. For several developers of the property market, if they have caused risks for the market or if they are running irregular programs, then they will be punished. And we are taking practical measures to safeguard the interest and legitimate rights of the people. We have also accelerated the development of the subsidized housing. In the 40 cities of the country, we have newly designated 942,000 units of subsidized housing in order to ease the tension between the supply and demand side. For all the people eligible for the subsidized housing, they have been included into this system, and more than 1 million units have been renovated. We have benefited more than 9 million households. We have also guided people temporarily in the loss of job to participate in the insurance system, and we also enable the cross-province services to these people. And fifth, we have also witnessed steady progress with the urban renewal. We have this assessment system for the performance of cities. In 59 pilot cities, we have run a physical examination assessment system for the cities. We have the baseline system for the city's development so that there will not be a massive demolishing activity and massive construction once for all in the urban renewal program. And we have to fight against the massive destruction of the forests. For the famous cities with a lot of historical ruins, we have to protect the historical monuments. First of all, we have to identify those monuments, and later we have to protect them. At the same time, we have to build up the city facilities to stay away from the risks of city flooding. For some new type of urban infrastructure, they are already in the phase of construction. We are yielding results. For the 3 levels of our hierarchy of management, we have this platform of services. And next, we are building a beautiful countryside. For the low-income households in the countryside, we help them to renovate their houses and also to strengthen the ability of the houses in face of the earthquake. In many pilot counties and townships, we have also built up this assessment system. We're also doing the investigation to know the weak links currently in the counties. And we have clarified the responsibilities of each party. We also urge the counties and townships to develop in a low carbon and ecological manner. For the villages and also the counties, we would like to speed up the urbanization process so that 90% and more of the villages, they can together enjoy a public service for the transfer and treatment of the daily sewage and waste. We also encourage the smart city development and also the new type of urbanization and industrialization. For example, for the decoration materials of the buildings, today we are encouraging the new type of more friendly, environmentally friendly materials. And for the other stadiums, construction projects, we also have the quality assessment system. We have this assessment system in place by publishing all kinds of standards. Throughout the year, we have published around 80 items of those regulations. We have to guard against the risks. For example, once there is an emergency, we should know how to take prompt responses. And you know that last year, by the 20th of July, Henan province has suffered from this heavy rainfall. We have promptly taken measures to help the province to cope with this disaster. We have also investigated to know the natural gas risks within the communities of residences. And in the countryside, we have also run the diagnosis about the quality of their houses and also the daily life facilities. We have set up this chain of protection of people's properties and their life. And 8th, for the key areas, we have deepened the reforms. For the complex construction projects, we have this approval system at national level and also at local levels. We also have a special program to know the specific problems to each project. For the cost calculation enterprises, we also check their qualifications. For the 14th five-year plan period, we also elaborated a plan of actions to improve the living conditions for the people. We have to put people's interests and rights at first place and continue to learn the Xi Jinping thought on socialism with Chinese characteristics in a new era. We also urge all the members at different levels to follow the training courses and ask them to shoulder their responsibilities. For the members of the party, they also have to take the leading role. We have to fight against the bureaucratism and also the formalism. We also have to fight against the corruption inside our system so that together we can ensure a political basis for the next stage of splendid development. We're about to welcome the 20th CPC Congress this year. We will continue to work under the Xi Jinping thought on socialism with Chinese characteristics in the new era and also insist on the leadership of CPC in the sector, coordinates the efforts in the containment of epidemic and socioeconomic development. We have to boost the confidence, guard against the risk, stabilize the growth, strengthen the reform, and also build up a better team. We also have to do a better job in regulating the property market, continue with the structural reform with the supply side, apply the action plans of the countryside development, and also strive for the goal of the carbon peaking and carbon neutrality. We also have to continue with the training of the party members so that with a very good list of achievements, we can welcome the 20th CPC Congress this year. Now the floor is open for your questions. Thank you very much, Minister Wang. Now the floor is open for your questions. Please first identify yourself before raising a question. First question, please. Thank you. With CCTV, I have a question for Minister Wang. According to the Central Economic Work Conference, we have to adopt measures that can help to stabilize the economic growth. And what is the consideration of your ministry in expanding the domestic demand and stabilizing the growth? Thank you very much for this question. Housing and urban-rural development are strictly correlated with daily life of the people. At the same time, we also have to expand domestic demand, increase investment, encourage consumption, so that we can have a better performance in the domestic market. We will work under the instructions of the Central Economic Work Conference to expand the domestic demand. So together we can wait and see a better quality development in the economic sector. For example, currently our country is still in a process of rapid urbanization. The scale of population living in the cities and also the number of households living in the cities are growing. Every year, the newly added employees in the cities would be more than 11 million. So there's a non-elastic demand for housing. Before 2020, we have constructed a lot of residences, and those houses are usually in very small areas, and the quality of those housing is less satisfying. So we have to renovate those houses, and people also have ever-growing demands for the renovation of those houses. We have also noticed that COVID-19 has also brought impetus for the people to raise higher standards for the living, because people would spend more hours in their house. Today, the urbanization has moved towards a new stage, that is the urban renewal. In the past, we have had massive construction projects. It's more to the side of the quantity. Today, we have to move towards the other side, that is the quality, and have to continue with the supply side structural reform. This means that we have to shift our focus from the quantity to the quality. We have to tap into this internal engine for growth in the cities. In the early days, we have built up a lot of city facilities and infrastructures. They are quite old today. For example, some problems with the pipes and also the sewage treatment. Sometimes you can be suffering from the smelly waters and smelly gases coming up from the tubes and pipes. And in the past, some houses are not wisely constructed. So facing those aging problems of the houses and also the unwise construction problems, we have to continue with another stage of development, that is the urban renewal. At the same time, we have this fast development, informationization. How can we better apply the information technology and also the internet to build up new infrastructure that is the new growth point for our economy? At the same time, houses in the countryside as well as the ever-growing demand of the farmers for better living can also be a huge challenge, and we are fully mobilized to help them to realize their dreams. And considering this year's task, we have several priorities. First of all, to guarantee a steady development of the property market, make sure that our regulatory measures are constant and also they serve for longer term. We also have to adopt well-targeted measures, continue to adopt the long-term mechanism for the management of the property market to assure the non-elastic demand for housing can be met, and we also respect people's demand for a better conditions of housing. We have to stabilize the prices of the property market and also stabilize the expectations. Second, we have to continue with this supply side structural reform. Mostly is to maximize the subsidized housing construction throughout the whole year. According to our calculation, it is expected to collect 2.4 million sets of subsidized housing, nearly added 100,000 public rental housing, and 1.2 million sets of shanty town houses renovation. And third, we have to continue with the renovation of old houses in the downtown area. In recent years, we've been doing this job already, and in different places, we have already come up with a lot of innovations in our measures, and we will continue with this program. For example, we will mobilize more social forces, innovate the financing mechanism, and also to reuse the inefficiently used houses, for example, to turn the commercial houses into residences for people. And fourth, we have to renovate the facilities of the natural gas, especially with the pipelines. This year, we will try to newly construct and renovate pipelines of 20,000 kilometers for the supply of natural gas, and also for the sewage pipelines and water supply pipelines, as well as the heating system pipelines, and also facilities for the transfer and treatment of the daily waste. And fifth, the new type of infrastructure in the cities based on the smart technologies, internet-based infrastructures in the cities, accelerates the building up of the three-level information model platform, and develop the smart services and constructions for the cities, encourage the development of the networks of smart cities, and also the internet-based vehicle service platforms. Apart from all the priorities mentioned above, we will also build up the housing programs for the elderly population. For example, subsidize the housing for the people living in the countryside. So with all those programs, we can boost the confidence of the people and thus stabilizing the whole society. Thank you. Thank you. With the Beijing Youth Journal, I have a question for housing. We have this long-term mechanism for housing. We have already yielded this consensus that houses are for living in, not for speculation. What are the measures coming up with your ministry to ensure the long-term stable development of the property market? To my colleague, Mr. Ni, thank you very much. It's a big issue that has attracted so much attention, housing. At the beginning, Minister Wang has already mentioned a lot of key points. I'd like to add up with some more points. Last year, the status quo of the markets of property and considerations of our ministry for this year. Back to last year, the status quo of the property market has been very stable. Our ministry has been working diligently under the instructions of the top regulators to stabilize the prices of land and real estate, and also the expectations. We have this long-term mechanism for housing regulations. In general, we have four aspects to share with you. First of all, transaction volume of the properties have maintained a positive growth. Last year, commercial housing sales area reached a very high level, even reached a new height within the several years, year-on-year increase of 1.1%. So a positive increase year-on-year. And the margin of the growth has been narrowed down. Last year, for the 70 large cities in the country, commercial housing traded for the first time and multiple times grew by 2% and 1% respectively, narrowed down by 0.7 and 1.1 percentage points respectively. You must have already seized the data from the administration of the statistics. 50 big cities out of the 70 big cities have registered a positive growth of the houses sold for the first time. And we have stabilized the prices. And thirdly, for the development of the property market, there's a positive increase of the investment. Throughout the whole year, there's 14.8 trillion yuan of investment into this market. Into the residences, year-on-year increase of 6.4% compared to the fixed asset investment that is 1.5 percentage points higher. And fourth, it's that we are within a reasonable range of the consumption of the properties. By the end of last year, the figure was 41 months for the consumption of the houses. So with all those aspects above mentioned, we can see that the real estate market in China has been running very smoothly and steadily. It has also shown to us that the policies are quite effective. Second, for the considerations of this year, without any doubt, we will insist on this idea that houses are for living in, not for speculation. It will not be used as an impetus for the economic growth in the short term. We will guide the expectation of the people and apply tailored strategies for each city so that we can ensure a very healthy and stable development of the property market throughout the country. 4 considerations in details. First of all, we have to make sure we have constant and steady policies for the regulation of the property market. Continue with this long-term mechanism for management. We asked the cities and also the provincial governments to play their role of inspectors and monitors, meet people's non-elastic demand for housing, and fight against speculations, continue with the measures to stabilize the prices and stabilize the expectations. And second, we have to strengthen the coordination of the policies, mainly with 3 strengthenings. First of all, strengthen the operation of the land and its coordination with the market policies. And second, to strengthen the coordination of authorities at different levels, provincial, municipal, and county sides, etc. And third, to strengthen our monitoring and inspection work. And for several developers of the real estate, if they have the default of the credit due to their problem, there may be the risk in the delay of the delivery. We also have to guard against this risk. We have to always follow the principle of rule of law and market-based regulation, strengthen the accountability system and stabilize the market, and also protect the legitimate rights and interests of our people. And fourthly, we have to continue to manage the order of this property market. Last year, we have worked 7 other authorities to carry out a 3-year management action on the property market. Moving forward, we can expect to see the results yielded from the 3-year plan. The main focus has been put on the monitoring and regulation of the property market for the leasing, purchases, and also the daily operation of the offices of services within the communities, in order to protect the rights and interests of the people. Thank you. From the Fengmian News. You have worked a lot to guarantee the housing for the people living in the countryside. What are the following measures to modernize the housing in the countryside? I'll give the floor to Vice Minister Zhang Thank you very much for this question. Since the 18th CBC Congress, our ministry has taken the leading role to ensure the housing for people living in difficulty in the countryside. With coordinated efforts, we have innovated a lot of houses in dangerous conditions, and for the registered households living in poverty in the past, they have witnessed a better living conditions today. Last year in Yunnan and Qinghai, people have suffered from the earthquake, and the renovated houses, they have stood still in the terms of the earthquakes, and there's no death toll after the earthquake. That is a very good news, and local people have expressed the gratitude to this renovation program because the renovated houses have saved their life. We will continue to work with the other authorities to combine our housing renovation programs with the rural revitalization. Together with the other authorities, we have also published the documents, the instructions of 12 basic requirements. For the positioning of the programs, first of all, we have to stay away from the disaster-prone areas to build the houses. We also have to be environmentally friendly and neighborhood-friendly. We cannot harm the ecological system. We should not, during the construction of the subsidized housing for farmers, cut down any trees or destruct any farmland. For the quality of the housing, we have to take targeted measures to build up very good facilities and also to apply the steel structure housing for the farmers. We also have to run the measures to better regulate and monitor the houses. At grassroots, we also have to build up a team of leaders and officials so that we can better ensure the operation of those programs. For the construction site workers, we also have to ensure that they have qualified skills to build up those houses. At the same time, we also have to respect the local cultures. For example, we can harmoniously combine the construction of the new houses in the countryside with the nearby sceneries. For the public services, it is stressed that we have to take well-targeted measures and adapted measures to explore the well-distributed models of housing construction and also have the classification of the daily waste of people living in the countryside and try to recycle the waste of their daily life and also use the photovoltaic panels and the other facilities to generate new energy and renewable energies. At the same time, we have built up new sites for the daily entertainment of the farmers. We also mobilize the farmers to join our efforts to build up a better life and a better living conditions. Moving forward, we have to urge the local governments to adopt detailed plans for actions, come up with more details in the modernization of housing and rural revitalization. Secondly, considering their own economic power and also their local geographic conditions, to select some representative villages to carry out pilot programs. So finally, we can first of all generate some good practices and then duplicate the experiences elsewhere. Thank you. I'm from the Guangming Journal. Last year, we have published a document, namely the opinions on the protection of historical monuments. How can we put this document into execution and application? To Mr. Lee, please. Thank you. In the cities and villages, we can find a vast number of the historical monuments. How can we protect the cultural heritages? It is an important task for us to do this job. We also have to be responsible for our people and for those monuments. Since 2015, after the central meeting, we have discovered and identified a lot of high-value historical heritages and cultural sites. It is also the basis for us to tell well a story of China. Last year, President Xi has also convened a meeting about this topic, during which we have adopted a document, namely the opinions on the protection of famous historical cities and historical monuments. It's the first time for the central regulators to adopt such a document after 1982. It's also one of the top-level guidelines for the top design for the protection of the monuments and cities. It can help us to guide our work for the next stage to come. In this document, we made it very clear which monuments to protect. For the selection of the monuments, we have to consider the time and space criteria and conclude all the elements. We have to protect not only some single architecture, but also the whole city, the whole tissue of the urban development. That means we have to consider the non-tangible heritages, and not only the protection of the ancient monuments, but also the results of the construction in a temporary development and modern era, so that throughout the 5,000 year of history of development, we can see this whole path traveled by our country. We can see the monuments from the past, from the ancient era, and also the monuments and buildings over the past 4 decades since the reform and opening up. How we can protect those monuments? First of all, we have to identify them and build up a checklist, and also clarify the priorities and also the measures in details to protect those monuments. We also have to add up more value to the use of those monuments, and also to explore even more into depth of the monuments. They have to be reanimated in the use. We should not leave them aside. At the same time, we also have to coordinate the urban planning while considering the new buildings and also the historical buildings. In the downtown area, we have to ease the burden of the protection while protecting the image and also the spirit of the downtown areas. So what can we do? First of all, we have to complete this management system at provincial, municipal, and county level. We have to build up this coordinated system of communication and collaboration. Complete our system of management at national level and provincial level. We have to create this map of the monuments for protection. At city and county level, we have to apply the instructions from the upper governments, clarify the objects for protection, set up this checklist, and also improve the system of the regulations and add up more details to the protection opinions. At the same time, we have to put into place a system for assessment and accountability. After the issue of this document of opinions, we have immediately accelerated our actions. We have already elaborated the planification of the list of the monuments, and we have elaborated a map. In Shanxi, Yunnan, the 2 provinces, we have already elaborated this pilot programs for the provincial level monuments for protection. Moving forward, we can expand these protection measures so that throughout the whole country, we can work under the unique system of principles. And also, we have to do the investigation throughout the country to recognize at the city level and also the street level and street district level all the monuments to be protected. And we have added much more compared to the year 2016, the monuments to be protected. Moving forward, we will continue with the protection of the historical monuments and also the famous historical cities and the townships in the country. Continue with this process of recognition, identification, and protection. For different types of monuments, we will also kick off the first stage of the identification of historical belts. First of all, for the protection and the preservation of the historical streets, we believe that if we can put those historical monuments and streets into use again, that's the best way to protect them. We also have to strengthen their capability to stand still in front of a natural disaster. And in daily life of the people, they can also have this touch of the historical monuments and feel the charm of those historical buildings. And fourth is the accountability system. Last year, the State Council has also included the protection and assessment of historical cities into the national level of large-scale investigation. 8 major historical cities have been selected as the starting point. Moving forward, we will try to have this full coverage and organize the team of experts to run the investigation and assessment. First of all, they will check out the status quo of the documents, and they will also try to discover the problems to see whether in some places local authorities are demolishing those historical monuments. If they do have this problem, they will be punished. Thank you. I'm from the Science Journal. Recently, President Xi has mentioned during a meeting of the CPC that we have to continue to clarify the tasks on the path towards carbon peaking and carbon neutrality so that we can take practical measures to realize our goals. What are the considerations and arrangement of work for your ministry to reach the 2 goals for carbon emissions? To Mr. Zhang. First of all, for the 2 carbon emission goals, the carbon peaking and carbon neutrality, they are the 2 major strategic decisions of the top authorities in the country. President Xi has reaffirmed several times the reduction of the emission of the buildings in many places and occasions. We have also worked diligently under the instructions. Last year, we have also published 2 important documents. First of all, the opinions on the work to apply the measures to reach the 2 goals of the carbon emissions and strive for a high-quality development. And second is to strive for a green development at urban and rural sectors. We have to abandon the traditional development model with massive demolition and massive consumption of energy as well as massive emissions of the CO2. We have already started in recent years the classification of the garbages and also impose the non-elastic requirements on the low emissions and low consumption of energies within the buildings. In different places, we also have detailed plans in place. We have accumulated a lot of experience that can be shared across the country. This has also set a solid foundation for us to reach our goal of carbon peaking and neutrality. Moving forward, we will continue to work under the instructions of the top regulators to apply our action plan for the carbon peaking and neutrality. More specifically, first of all, the green and low carbon development in cities in 3 aspects. First of all, improve the mixture and also the positioning of the cities, build up the blue corridor of the development, and to curb the development of super high buildings, and also be very cautious with the demolishing of the buildings. And second, a better construction of the communities, build up a 15-minute cycle for the daily life, and third, renovation of the buildings so that they can reduce their consumption of energy and reduce the emissions of the carbon. Second, we have to build up villages that are green and environmentally friendly. Today, we have to coordinate development of the villages with natural sceneries and with daily sewage and garbages. We have to do a better job in the treatment and transfer. We encourage the villages to reduce their carbon emissions. And third, the guarantee systems mainly in two parts. First of all, for the monitoring system of the development of urban rural sectors, we have to set up the standards and indicators. And another is the system for the indicators for assessment. For the emission volume of the carbon, we should have a dynamic monitoring and also have an objective assessment of their performance. We should have this encouragement and constraint system at the same time. So finally, the cities and the villages could help to reach the goal of carbon neutrality and peaking. Thank you. I'm from the China Review. According to the opinions on the construction side for the 14th five-year plan period, it is said that we have to shift the focus towards the quality of the buildings. What are the detailed measures you're about to adopt? Again to Vice Minister Zhang. Construction industry is an important pillar of the national economy. It's also a great creator of job opportunities. It's a stabilizing effort for the people's livelihood. Last year, construction industry has created an added value of 29.3 trillion RMB, representing 7% of the GDP. This industry has also created more than 50 million jobs. We have just concluded successfully the Beijing Winter Olympics. The stadiums, they are symbols of the high-tech development in our country. For example, the ice cube and ice belt. Those wonderful stadiums have been highly appreciated by all parties. Those stadiums are constructed and renovated by our own people. And during this process, we have also adopted the mentality of green and low emission. We have also the prefab technologies applied, and we have combined the Chinese culture inside this construction process. This is a wonderful example of the high level of construction capability in country. It's also a demonstration of the future potential for this prefab industry and construction levels. Moving forward, we will continue to coordinate the green development of the industry of construction and the smart development of the construction. For some cities, we will first of all start with the pilot programs, build up the basis for the industries so that we can better make profit out of the preferential policies for the smart construction. We can also foster new forms of businesses for the smart construction. All the accumulated best practices will be duplicated elsewhere. And second, information model platforms will be applied more widely for the plans for constructions and also the maps for the constructions. It can be upgraded. So finally, we can expect to see better quality of housing. And third, the prefab industry. We have to boost the development of a series of high-quality manufacturers of the prefab so that they can apply more digital technologies and build up a more complete construction chain. By 2025, we expect to see the proportion of more than 30% of the prefab industry in the whole construction sector. We also have to build up the internet platform. We encourage the other companies working in the internet and also the academians to work with us. And we also encourage the sharing of the information and coordination of the technologies so that together we can improve the efficiency. And fifth, to develop more cutting-edge technologies and apply more robots in the constructions, develop more products of robots in this sector, so that in some areas where the construction would be quite a big headache for the human beings, robots will have no worries. Next question, please. Thank you. I'm from the Xinjiang Journal. Today, the youngsters, they have higher expectations for the subsidized housing. Last June, the State Council has published opinions on the guaranteeing development of subsidized housing. What are the measures to come up with your ministry, and what is your consideration? I'd like to give the floor to Vice Minister Ni. Thank you very much for this question. The new urban residents and the younger generation, they have the high demand for the houses, and the State Council has attached great importance to that. Last year, by December, in the Central Economic Work Conference, President Xi has pointed out specifically this topic, saying that we have to pay attention to the growing demand of the new urban residents and younger generation, as well as the population with the difficulty of getting a house. We have to ensure access to housing for everyone. Premier Li, in a meeting of last June, has deliberated and approved the opinions on guaranteeing the subsidized housing. There are 5 systems in place and six institutions for guaranteeing the subsidized housing. And later on, Premier Han has also organized another meeting to reiterate the importance of the subsidized housing. Immediately, this has attracted a lot of attention from the society. It has been highly appreciated by the urban residents, especially the new urban residents and the younger generation. We will continue to work diligently under the instructions of the top regulators and guarantee the subsidized housing. Today, for the cities welcoming more influx of residents, they have a lot of enthusiasm in developing more subsidized housing. We have preferential policies for the budget, finance, and also the land. For the 14th five-year plan period, we are studying the new targets for the development of subsidized housing. For the 40 major cities welcoming the majority of the migrant workers and influx of residents, we have already arranged 942,000 units of subsidized housing, satisfying the needs of a huge number of residents. This is also a good momentum for the development of the subsidized housing. And today, for the collective ownership land in the countryside, as well as the land of the industrial parks and manufacturing sectors, they have also a growing enthusiasm for developing the subsidized housing. Today, 70% of the subsidized housing are constructed on the storage land area. Moving forward in this year, we will continue to catch up with the capability of supply for subsidized housing. In major cities, we will newly collected 2.4 million units compared to last year's 942,000 units. That is a significant leap forward. In order to realize the goal, we have to apply the 6 aspects of policies. First of all, policies of land support. It's mainly correlated with 5 points. First of all, construction land of the countryside, following up measures of land with the factories and also industrial parks. In different cities and areas, they have different tailored policies. For example, in Beijing, they have applied this program on the land for construction use in the countryside. In Shanghai, they have mobilized inefficiently used land for the construction of subsidized housing. In Guangzhou, they encouraged leasing enterprises to transform non-residence houses into residences. During this process, we should not change the nature of the houses, and there's no compensation for the prices of the land. In that case, we have significantly lowered the cost of these houses. And second, we have to streamline the process of approval. For different levels of government, they have a coordinated approval. First of all, they will issue a letter of identification, and later on, the other authorities can accelerate the speed of execution. In 21 cities, they have already applied this coordinated approval system, which has helped to save a lot of time. And third, the central subsidies. Last year, for 40 cities, the central government has issued 2.8 billion yuan as the subsidies for the housing. This year, from the central budget, we will increase even more subsidies. And fourth, the fiscal preferential policies. Since the 1st of October last year, we have already applied this new regulation. For leasing enterprises lending houses to the individuals, they can enjoy a preferential policy with taxation. For the enterprises, social groups, lending residences to the other individuals or organizations as a subsidized housing, the real estate tax ratio can be cut from 12% to 4%. And for the daily facilities, the prices of water, electricity, and natural gas, they can also enjoy preferential policies. For the subsidized housing, turning from non-residences apartments to the residence houses, then we will also change the prices of the electricity, water, and natural gas. And fourth is the support of the operation side. Currently, subsidized housing has been classified into the trust pilot program of the city infrastructure development. For the loans applied for the construction of the affordable housing has been exempted from the management system of property loan concentration. In the city, if you can give hope to the younger generation, then you have ensured the hope and a very beautiful perspective of the city development. So first of all, we have to solve the housing headache for the younger generation and the new city residents. It's also a way to realize the sustainable development of our cities. During the 14th five-year plan period, we will take, first of all, the large cities with a larger influx of population as the priority for Beijing, Shanghai, Guangzhou, and Shenzhen, those key cities. They have decided to increase the proportion of subsidized housing. In general, the proportion of the subsidized housing would account for more than 40 to 45% of newly added houses. Next question, please. Thank you. I'm from the CNS. Urban renewal is an important endeavor to support the high-quality development of the cities, and we have witnessed this buzzword, urban renewal, in many occasions. So what is your consideration? To Mr. Li. Just now, Minister Wang has already mentioned urban renewal programs in his briefing. Today, for the urbanization development process, we have entered into a new stage, that is the urban renewal. We have shifted our focus from quantity to quality, and we put equal attention to the quantity and equality today. It matters more for us to see the quality of the buildings and also the city development. Today, we have elaborated a lot of policies, and we have insisted on the bottom line management, and we have also a steady progress of the urban renewal programs. As you have already noticed, urban renewal has been very well welcomed by the local cities. We have improved the mechanisms of work, and we are exploring more innovative ways to do this job. First of all, we start with the examination and diagnosis of the cities, find out weak links, and then we draft a plan for the future corrections and development. For example, the old factory areas, old areas for residences, existing buildings renovation, and urban flooding prevention, and also the sponge city development. At the same time, we also have programs for the restoration of ecological system. According to incomplete survey by the end of last year, in more than 411 cities, we have applied a total number of 23,000 urban renewal programs, mobilizing 5.3 trillion RMB. With the urban renewal programs, we have not only strengthened the weak links of the city development, but also given the sense of achievement and security to the people. We always say that it's an organic complex within a city. Urban renewal would take the whole city as an organic body. We will first start with the diagnosis of the city status, and we keep up with the city development and urban renewal programs as a pathway. Moving forward, there are 7 aspects of work. First of all, to complete the system, accelerate the construction of national system of urban renewal. We clarify different strategic positioning and core functions of the cities and encourage coordinated development across the regions. At the same time, considering the characteristics of our country's cities, counties would be playing a very important role for the urbanization. We encourage urban development in a very green and low emission way. We try to keep the farmers in a very comfortable conditions. And second, we also will do the coordination between the nature and also the urban development. We encourage the clusters of city development, restore the ecosystem within the cities, and encourage a very harmonious development between the city and nature. Third, improve the functionality. Public services will be renovated and improved. Transportation system will be upgraded inside the cities, and we will make the services more resilient. And fourth, stick to the bottom line. For the scale and density and the total look of the cities will set a bottom line, and we will curb the excessive expansion of the cities, and will also curb the expansion and construction of the super high skyscrapers. And fifth, to protect the historical cities and historical buildings, renovate the old residences for the people, promote the renovation programs and upgrading for the shanty town inside the cities so that we can meet people's demand for better living conditions. 6, improve efficiency in our work. For example, we use the cutting-edge technologies to set up the IT platform, develop smart communities, smart cities, and to upgrade the capability and efficiency of the city management. 7th is to transform the mode of work. Explore the ways of cities to reach the carbon peaking and carbon neutrality. Real estate developers, in the past, they have put the focus on the quantity. Today, we have to mobilize the government side and also the public to join in the development of the sustainable development. Due to limit of the time, we have to allow the very last question for today. Thank you. I'm from the Economic Daily. Just now, Minister has mentioned that the renovation programs of the old houses, they are an important part of the city development programs. What are the considerations and measures to come in the next phase? I'd like to give this question to Vice Minister Zhang. The renovation of The downtown areas and the old areas of the city is an issue that has attracted so much attention from the society. In recent years, our ministry has collaborated with the other authorities to apply the instructions of the State Council and CPC Central Committee. We have carried out a lot of explorations and profited out of the provincial policies of fiscal, financial, and land side. We have already built up a positive list and negative list for the renovation of the houses and downtown areas. We could say that we have already yielded fruitful results from the efforts and endeavors. Some data for you. Last year, in the whole country, we have started the renovation programs of 55,000 and benefiting 9.6 million people. From 2019 to 2021, we have in total renovated 115,000 residences units and benefiting a lot of people. We have also regulated and renovated pipelines of electricity, water. We have also added more facilities for services to people, especially the elderly ones. Using these programs, we are improving people's livelihoods and we are also making our cities better for living. First of all, for the satisfaction of the people. Today, we can see a very high degree of satisfaction of the people. We know that during our construction and renovation programs, we have to consider the most urgent expectations of the people. For example, the supply of water, supply of natural gas. We have to remove all the hazards and also the risks, and also to make those pipelines more efficient. At the same time, we have increased more elevators and also the other elderly-friendly facilities. For some long existing problems that have haunted our people, we have put an end to those problems. For example, some elderly person, they are living high in a building, and due to the lack of the elevators, those elderly persons cannot afford to go down to the yard to enjoy the sunshine. But today we have renovated the houses with the elevators so they can go downstairs and enjoy the environment. We have also built up the balustrades and also more facilities for the people with disabilities. So today people are really enjoying better living conditions. And second, we have injected more vitality into the old residences and communities. The greatest features of all those renovation programs with the residences is to really consider the demand of the people. We will not just stop on the superficial level. We will consider real demand of the people. For example, for the unused land, we will build up some facilities for the benefits of the elderly persons and also to construct more facilities to make people's daily life more convenient. For the historical monuments, we will try to keep them and protect them so we can keep this old look of the old days. For the old residences today, they are revealing a new look to the outside. During these programs, a lot of people are expressing their new feelings. In the past, in order to have a meal outside, they have to walk a long way, but today they can enjoy the meals prepared inside the communities. Life has been more convenient, and some people who have moved out of those old residences have decided to come back because conditions have been significantly improved. And third, we have made the local grassroots officials playing a more important role. For example, they have set up this platform for communication, and we have also set up this coordination and consultation mechanism. They will discuss what are the places to renovate and how we can renovate. People have more willingness to do the renovation work. In the past, it's only the government doing the job, and today more people, they are mobilized to join the efforts, and they would like to contribute their own part of efforts. And people have more confidence and also trust in the local party organizations. And fourth, we have also made some effective explorations in the framework of urban renewal. Just now, we have also talked about this subject of urban renewal. We have entered into a new stage and important period for the urban renewal. We need a system in place to guide this new stage of development. Shanghai, Chongqing, Suzhou, Yichang, and Jinan, as well as the other cities, they have also carried out important explorations and innovations. They have accumulated a lot of good practices. For example, how to streamline the approval process, how to upgrade the facilities, and how to clearly identify the use of the land, and how can we wisely transfer the use of the land in order to have a more efficient utilization of the pieces of the land. All those practices have contributed to the improvement of the urban renewal programs and our management capabilities. Those renovation programs within the communities, they are a program, an example of the benefits to the people, and also they can help to tap into the potential for the future development. We will continue to work diligently under the instructions of the top regulators to continue to renovate the old, outdated communities. And in this year's 2 sessions, we will make it even clearer. For example, we have to listen to the opinions of the local residents. We have to coordinate the construction of the new programs and also the existing programs, make sure that the process is according to the calendar. And second, we have to explore the sustainable renovation programs for the localities while continuing with the renovation programs with their outdated neighborhoods and communities. They also have to come up with new ideas with the financing and also the management systems. And third, we have to strengthen the monitoring and guidance. We have the groups of officials moving around within the country to monitor the progress. We also duplicate good practices throughout the country. We also give guidelines to local governments to renovate the programs so that those programs could yield tangible benefits for the people. So that is the end of today's press conference. Thank you for your participation.